Hello, welcome to Beginners Python and Machine Learning. My name is Tim Cummings. We're a Python meetup group to help people get started into Python, and we also cover some machine learning topics as well. Today we're going to be creating a Django app, which is a framework for creating web applications. We've done one before, Meetup 206, and that one we use Google authentication to authenticate. So the users could authenticate using their Google accounts. Now this one's going to be slightly different. We're going to be working on Strava accounts, which we had a lot of fun with in Meetup 220, and so the app's going to be designed to get data from Strava, so everyone who's going to use it needs to have a Strava account. So rather than use Google accounts, which not everyone may have, we'll use Strava accounts, which everyone was going to have for this app. And it'll be a good chance to use it. Not many demonstrations on how to use Strava authentication in Django, so hopefully this will fill in some gaps for people. So there'll be a link for the script. I'm on the meetup page, but even below the YouTube video that you're currently watching, you'll see a link. This is the image that I used. We won't be getting on to doing mapping in today's session, but in a couple of months we'll add mapping to this app that we create today. So here's the link. It'll take us to a script on our GitHub site. So if you want to follow that, that'll be great. You're going to need to have PyCharm installed on your computer if you want to follow along, and also Python. And but you don't have to type in all the code, because you can type it in if you want. You can follow exactly what I do, or you can just clone the repository that's got all the code already created. There will be some things that you will need to do because some stuff can't go into the GitHub repository, such as the secrets that we're going to use to authorize our account. Now, if you want to ask questions, then you can do it on a YouTube chat. And I see Ashok Gupta has already said hello, so hi Ashok. And also in Slack, in this Learning to Code channel, which is part of Beginners Python and Machine Learning. Or actually, I think it's just called Beginners Python for the Slack channel, Slack group. So I'm going to do this from scratch. I set this all up on a Linux computer, and here we are on a Windows computer. So let's see how that goes. It should just work the same way. We're going to create a project. If you want to, you can just clone this repository, and you can clone it into PyCharm. You see there's got a clone repository link here, and just copy that link in, and then check out step 1. But we're going to start manually. We're just going to create a new PyCharm project. Okay, so we'll go new project. I've just started PyCharm and there's no project open. So new project, and we're going to call the project Django Beginners Python and Machine Learning Strava site. Now normally you wouldn't include the site part into a project, but it will make it easier for what we're doing here. So the way Django is set up, you have a site which manages all the applications, and then each of the applications. So there's some configuration that has to go into the site section, and then you have the rest of it's configured in each application. Now we're going to use a virtual environment. Because we just got Python installed, I'm just going to use a venv1. If you've got Anaconda, then use base conda, and it will be based on this one, which is Python 3.13. So that sounds good. So let's create that, and that will create. All right, we won't bother with that for the moment. Now I'll try to go through this probably a little bit quickly because we've done this all in Meetup 206. So if you want more detail, go to Meetup 206 to see how to do it. So anyway, we'll go open a terminal window. So in PyCharm, we go down here, terminal on the bottom left, and click that. That gives us a terminal window, and it looks like it's PowerShell. And you can see by the brackets here that it's using the virtual environment. And so we're going to install the Django framework that, it's a third-party framework that works with Django that provides all the social accounts like Google, or in this case, we're going to use the Strava one. And I've got a link to that documentation to which shows all the different accounts that we could possibly use. So when you're pip installing, you can add like a variation of the standard install in square brackets, and the variation we need is social account to have all that social account information. They've excluded it from the standard install because it's quite a lot of stuff. Now Django allauth depends on Django, so by doing just the Django allauth, it will actually install Django for us as well. So what it does, goes off to Pippy, downloads all the files, and it finds all the dependencies that are needed and installs them. Now, if you followed the Django tutorial, they'll say the next thing to do is start a project called My Site. We're going to start a project called Django BPML Strava Site. So I'll just copy that. Oh, here we go. So it says a new version of pip is available. So I like to install that. I'm on Windows, so I can just say python-m pip install, and I can do dash capital U's, the same as dash dash upgrade pip. Okay, pip's updated as well then. Alright, so let's run the Django admin command, and that's created this new folder, Django BPML Strava site. Now we've just got a little bit of a problem here that PyCharm has one project structure and Django has another, but we can fix it so that they're both using the same. And basically all we want to do is move all these files up a directory. So if I change directory, I'm down in the terminal here, I'll change directory into that second site directory. Well, I'll move manage.py up a directory, so // okay, that's been moved up, and then I'll go down one more directory. Like, in fact, I'll just do it from here. Move Django *.py into the current directory. There we go. So they've all moved into the current directory, as you can see up here in the top left. And now this folder here is not needed anymore, so I can just delete that. And now we've got our project, and the project level and by Django is the same as the project level for PyCharm. So now things will work a bit more smoothly. If you've got the professional version of PyCharm, I think it handles that a lot more smoothly. All right. Now, if I look at pip, I can say what's currently installed with pip, and you'll see here that we've installed Django allauth and all the dependencies that it required as well. So we can put them into a requirements file so that it's easy for someone else to recreate that and I put that requirements file one directory down too low, so let's just move that. And you can see it up here, there, and now I should get up one directory, otherwise I'm going to cause sort of problems. Okay. So if we look in requirements.txt, and we can see that now that the pip freeze, I don't think it works well with where we did the optional social account. So let's put that in there as well. And that'll help other people trying to install stuff. Okay, so what Django has given us, they've given us the main settings that we need to configure for our site, our project, and it also given us this manage script, which does a lot of things. And one of the things it does is we can create different applications. So we're going to use it to create. We're going to use start app to create an application called Django BPAML Strava. And you can see that's created it just here, and it's created all these files for us. Now, if you have just checked out our code from GitHub, you can now say git checkout step 2, and then you'll see the next steps. But if not, then you can just keep typing them in. Right, so in the site, we've got a settings file. Okay, we've got a question here. Is this beginner friendly? So it's beginner friendly if you really want to do a Django app. It's not a way of getting into Python, but if you want to do a Django app, then this is. I'd probably recommend Meetup 206, which could help if you're just getting started, because it'll be a bit more slow. So this is really a reiteration of 206 with a few differences, and that should help to reinforce the learning. Also 220, we did a lot of this stuff in Google Colab, so you don't need to install anything on your computer, and that'll teach you how the authentication part works, and also how to use tokens, which was a good background to what we're about to do here today. Now Shavinder Singh has said he's run into an error, but I don't know what error you've got, so you can give me more details, I might be able to help you. Okay, so we're going to edit settings.py, and in okay, so Shavinder says it's not coming up. I'm not sure what's not coming up. Is it PyCharm not coming up, or the file's not turning up here in the left? Okay, so I'll keep working on this. So we've selected settings.py, and it's showing here on the right. And just to give us a bit more room, I might just click on the files thing here, and that will hide it. Oh, okay, yeah. So Shavinder says the YouTube is not posting the error message. Sorry about that. Yeah, YouTube does censor the stuff. If you can put it on Slack, it's less likely to. Here we go. Command error conflicts with the name of an existing Python module and cannot be used as an app name. Okay. All right. So what that means is that in your directory structure, you've already got a module called Django BPAML Strava, and so it won't be able to create a new one. So see, I've got my project name in PyCharm is called Django BPAML Strava site. Then I've got my virtual environment, and then I've got this one here, Django BPAML Strava site, which is the was created using the Django admin start project, and that was created there. And then this one here, Django BPML Strava, which I think is the one you're trying to create now, that was created with start app rather than start project. So if that one failed, it means it's either you've already run it before and you can't run it again, or it's one of the other ones you've previously named that, and so it can't do it. So I hope that helps. Okay, so we're going to go into Strava site settings, which is here, and I've got it up, and we'll hide this to give us a bit more room. And we're going to scroll down to installed apps, and we're going to put this, which is our new installed app that we've just created, and we're going to put it into the beginning above all the other installed apps. Okay, so you see where I put that there, line 34. And then down here in templates, in directories, we have to say we're going to store all our templates in a directory called templates. I don't know why the default Django doesn't have this, because it's just about everyone does it. If you look further down in settings, you'll see we've got the database here is going to use SQLite 3, which will be fine for development, and we've also got a time zone of UTC, which I find is pretty useful for anything you put on a server. All right, so let's get started building our project. We need to set up some URLs so that Django knows where to send people if they have it put a URL into their browser. So we'll go into Strava site URLs, and we can see that there's one here already, which is admin.site URLs, and we're going to add another one for us, which will be for our app that we've created. Now it includes underlined in red saying we haven't got it yet, and that's because it's not up here. So let's just add include, and that'll come from the Django library. So that's going to say if anything's prefixed with BPML Strava, then we want to get it out of our application URLs file, not out of the project URLs file. So now we have to go to the application URLs file and put something in there. So you'll see that that is nowhere to be found. So let's create it, create the new file, URLs, and it's a Python file, and it's going to take this content here, and it's going to say if anyone does a URL with nothing in it, and remember that's nothing in it after the Django BPML Strava, then call up the index page. But we haven't written index page yet, so let's go and write that. And that's the next bit down here. So I'll just copy this code and type it in. Okay. Now with Django, we can use the manage.py script to run our test server, but we're going to do it quite a lot, so let's set up a run configuration. So I'm teaching you now something about PyCharm. This is not Python, this is PyCharm, how to create a run configuration. So we'll edit the configurations, we'll add a new one, add new configuration. It's going to be a Python configuration. We'll call it run server, so we know what it does, and it's going to, and so I'm just following this bit here, name, venv, script parameters. Okay, so the venv is going to be this one here, which it was by default, our virtual environment. We're going to have a module, not a script, and the module is going to be the manage module, and the script parameter for that module is going to be run server. So this is the same as saying Python manage.py space run server, and then it's got this Python unbuffered equals 1. That's the default. We'll leave that as it is. Okay, I'll save that, and now if we look up here, we've got a run server, and we can just run it by clicking on the run button. So let's test that. Let's click on run, and that's running. And now if we go up to our, I've got a link here already. It's going to open up in localhost 8000. It's going to go to BPA-ML Strava. So let's open that in the new tab. And there's our web application. It's running. So we've put in a URL. It's been managed by our project. It's worked out that it's got to send it to our app. It sent it to the app. URLs in the app has said, okay, you want the index page. So it's gone to views and return just that bit of code as our index page. And if I look at, if I press F12 over here in the browser, you can see that that's the effective code that's there. In fact, I mean, we only sent the H1. So if I looked at that, that's Chrome's added a bit of stuff in there. Maybe if I go Control U, there we go. That's the actual source code, not the effective source code. So that's all that's come over. We haven't even put a body or a head or anything, but Chrome has managed to render it. Okay. Now we're going to need a database setup. If you're following with Git, just Git checkout step 3 now. And we're going to create a data structure for activities and athletes. Now the athletes are just users who people are going to log into our system. And Django comes with its own user. So we might take the existing user that Django provides and just add a couple of things to it. And the activities is a new table of data that we need. So we'll have to create that from scratch. So here's what we're going to do. User is going to extend from abstract user, and we're just going to add one field in here, which is parkrun ID. It's going to be an integer. It can be null and it can be blank. So null is how it can be stored in the database. Blank is how it can be displayed or entered in a form. And then we're going to give it a dunder string method, which just means if we ever print it out, it'll that's the format we want it to print in, and that'll be used even by the Django admin app in how it displays stuff as well. Now activity, we've got all this stuff that we're going to store about activity. So activities like someone's gone out for a run, what time did they start, where did they do it, how long did it take them, and we're going we can even store the polyline so we can plot it on a map. So there's all the data we're going to collect for them. So let's put all that into models.py, which is up here, and just be careful which one you're putting it in. This one's going into the app, which is the top one. So models, and we'll just paste all of that in. All right. Now remember, in our URLs in the project, we could send people off to the admin site, or we can send them off to our app. And this admin app is one that comes for free by Django, provides it for you. So that'll be make it easier with a lot of stuff we don't have to code. If we were doing this in Flask, we'd have to just do all the admin stuff as well. But Django provides it, but we have to tell Django that we've changed the data definition for activity and user. So we'll in this file here, admin.py, we can register our models so that it can be used. Okay, so that's there. We also have to, in settings.py, we have to say that we're going to, what we're going to do for authentication, and we're going to use our new user model for authentication. So let's go into settings in site. Yes, and of course, because this is authenticating for all our apps that we might have on our site, even though we've only got, well, we have got two. We've got one as our app that we're writing now, and the other one is the admin app that comes with from Django. Okay, I might just copy the whole lot. And we'll put that at the bottom. So we've defined our data model in models, and Django provides a whole bunch of database facilities, which is really very clever and saves us a lot of time. We're using SQLite here in this session. We could be using PostgreSQL, we could be using MariaDB, as long as we specify which one we will be using. Then Django can do things like make these migrations and migrate the data. In fact, that making the migrations, it doesn't even need to know which package we're using, which database we're using. So let's make the migrations. And if you look up here in our migrations folder, we've currently just got an init.py, which has got nothing in it. But if we go down and say make migrations, it goes, all right, I've created some migrations and I've created a Python script here, 0001 initial, and it's defined the models, and then it will know if I run this command, migrate, it will look at the migrations that have just been created, and it will go to the database and make all the changes that are required. And you can have multiple migrations, like you can do this once and then later on you make some changes to the definition and make a new migration, and it will create a new script file that is designed to be run after the first script file, and will change the data structure from one to the new one that we want. And this is really good for deployment, because you might have deployed something that's using your data structure version 1, and then it creates a data structure version 2, and it will see when it starts, when you run migrate on the server where you're deploying, it will see, oh, it's currently at version 1, all I need to do is run the version 2 changes. Okay, you can see it's done that, it's made all the changes in SQLite. So now we can actually put some data into the database, and one of the data bits we're going to do is create a super user. So that'll just be me. And I'll give it a password. And this managed facility has got ways of changing that password if you forget it later. Okay. So our run server is still running. It's just, hopefully it's got all those changes. So let's see. We'll follow this link here to admin, and it hasn't worked. So let's stop and rerun the server. And reload this. And here we go. We're in the administration page. It's got quite nice styling. We can even turn it from light to dark or system. And we've created a super user, so type in your username and password that you created for super user and then click on login. And we can see it's got telling us about the 2 data tables that are in here. We've got activities and we've got users. If I click on users, it says there's only one user with this email address. I could put in some more details about it. I'll just say it's a super user Tim. And save that. And there we go. It's remember we created that str, that dunder str function, and that said we wanted to display them like this with the email address followed by the first name, last name. Alright, so we've got this really nice site. We can add extra users now. We've got activities. There's none in there at the moment. We can do groups. So that's all provided to us by this Django admin app. We can have a look at this one here, and nothing's changed there with that URL. So our app is in our project hasn't changed. We can add athletes, but we're not going to do that. All right, so looking at this file here in our app, remember that's our app, we've got it's very simple style. It's just a white page with black serif font on it. While we look at the Django app, the admin app's looking really nice. They've got colors and layout is all quite good. So rather than create our own layout, let's just borrow from theirs. And to do it, we're going to create a template, and it's going to be stored in base.html. And I'm going to base it on the Django one, and I actually copied some of this from Django. So I looked in the virtual environment and found where it was, and if you look at Meetup 206, that'll give you more information on how I did that, because otherwise it'll spend a bit much time. Okay, so I want to go here. I want to create a folder called templates. And in templates, I want to create a folder for which app or is going to be using the template. So seems a bit redundant, but you might see later why we do this, because we can also put in templates for other apps in this templates directory. And let's create our base HTML in here. So it's just an HTML file called base, and we just paste in the code that we've copied from our script, and it's got blocks and stuff. Anyway, you'll see from the other one, Meetup 206, how that works a bit better. We'll create our style sheet. So this one's in a different folder. We've got a static folder for things that aren't changing. So templates, they change because they've got all these spots where we can substitute code, substitute content. But the static stuff doesn't have any of that. So we're going to put our style sheet in there, and once again we'll do the directory structure where we have the app name that's going to have the style sheet in here. So this name here has to be the same as that name. So if you've changed that name, then this one has to be the same. New file, and we'll call it ppaml.css. And now let's create a so we're going to create a template file for this URL. That could be localhost or 127.0.0.1, and it's port 8000, which is what Django uses in development, and it just basically gives us links so we can go to our app or we can go to the admin app. And you can see this one is extending our base HTML template that we created with all the styles in it, and then we've just got an unordered list with a couple of URLs in it. We have to define what those URLs. I thought we haven't done this one, so let's add that to Strava site URLs. Remember, this one's now in the project and the site section. And we'll add that in. That's good. And we might need to import template view. So, and I've just said when we create new templates from now on, we can get rid of the surrounding body tags and just put in our base tag, and then that'll be used by anything that any of our templates. So let's have a look. That one probably won't change, no. But this one we can have just the template does not exist. Template does not exist. bpaml home .html. Okay. So let's find out why that's not working. We might try restarting. No, so it's looking for these are all the places that it's looked. Python site. Okay, what I might just do, we can quickly look at the GitHub site to see what we've got in the code, because I know this code works. And in here we don't have any templates, so all the templates are in here. And it's outside. Oh yeah, there we go. So we'll move that one out. So it's actually not in the app, it's just in templates. So when I go here, there we go, it found it. All right, sorry for that. Does anyone need me to go over that again? But the important thing is that bpaml home is just in the templates folder, because it's actually not part of this app, it's part of the whole site. But you can see how we've taken advantage. We've got all the nice styling. We could probably even click on there so we can get dark and light on system styling. And we've now got quick links. We can link to our admin, or we can link to our Strava app, although our Strava app doesn't actually have any nice styling yet. but let's see if we can give it some nicer styling. Okay, so display real data in our web app. Yes, that's a good place to go next. So if we look at, we haven't got any template there. So in our views, all we're doing in views is just returning some straight text without using any templates. So let's change that so that we'll use a template, and to do that we have to use this render function, and we specify which template we want to use, and we pass in the data we want to display in it, and the data is called a context. So it basically is just so it knows how to render it, what context you want me to render this thing in. So let's just copy and paste all of that into views. And we're going to have an index page that's going to list the social accounts. So these are all the Strava accounts. So a social account is from Django allauth, and we're saying we want the ones that are provided by Strava. And we're also going to, when this filter selects the social accounts, we want it to, at the same time from the database, also pull out the user that's linked to that social account. So that's what select related means. And that just saves on your database access. It'll all happen at once. And similarly for athlete page, we're going to look at, so this is looking at all the athletes, this is looking at one athlete, and we're going to get object or 404 as a special Django method. That's a bit of a shortcut. It if the object doesn't exist, it'll throw a 404 error. So that handles just a bit more of the tedium for us. So let's use that, and then we just pass that athlete to the template, which doesn't exist yet. Well, we've got to write it. Okay, so there are our two views. Now let's create the templates. So there's athletes. And it's really just a table with a row, and then we do a for loop around all the rows, one row per athlete, with just their name and user ID, stuff like that. And then we can refer to that in urls.py. So you can see here we've got the index pages already specified, and we will now want the athlete page. If I can spell it properly. And that's if they type athlete in the URL with their athlete, with their Strava ID, and that's what it'll show. And now athlete.html is another template for the single athlete. And it's just going to show a table of all the athletes' activities, as well as another table at the top giving a few of their details. And it's also got this block called breadcrumbs at the bottom, so when we get to it, we'll have a look at what that does. Okay. Now the athletes have all got to come from Strava, the data, and we need to do the authentication part of Strava. So this is where we make some changes to our site settings to say we want to use Strava auth rather than that username and password option that we did before for the admin user. And if you ever can, just use social accounts for doing authentication for your apps, because it hands over all of the drudge work of people having to remember passwords, and even multi-factor authentication can work with it, and it'll make your app a lot more secure. Alright, so settings.py, just down here. We want authentication backends, which is up the top here. It's not there. Password validators. Oh, it's not even in there. Oh yeah, we're going to add that to the top, just above installed apps. Then we're going to add this all auth stuff into installed apps. So that's all going to be provided from that third-party Python library we installed. And then in middleware, we need to make sure we're using the all auth stuff as well. And we'll put that right at the end. Okay. And then right at the bottom we can put just a few things here. Main thing is social account providers. We're just going to say we're going to call up Strava and we want to have these scopes. So these are security scopes. Be careful how you put that data in. Scope has to be a list for allauth, but the way Strava expects it is a string with a comma in it. So it's a single element list that's shown there in settings. And we'll put that right at the bottom of settings. And then for our authentication, we need to say where do we want the app to go when it's logging in and when it's logging out. And that'll be to our Strava app, ppaml Strava, with a dash in it. And then I've also thrown in a bit of templating stuff. If we want to do some logging, we can just enable the Django default logging, and go to the console at level info. And also we want, in Australia, we want our date formats to be the day of the week, then day, month, year. And so I've put that into settings as well. Now, because we're now using all auth stuff, the data structure's changed. So we can run this migrate command in our terminal. So let's go back to a terminal. And it makes all the data structure changes to enable all the social account stuff. So that's pretty easy. Like I can't overemphasize just how useful that has been. All right, challenge, add the breadcrumbs to the index page. All right, so well, let's just do it, because we are running out of time. The way the breadcrumbs work is we just have to say what was the URL for us to get here, and I'll put it in now so that when we run it we can just see how it affected things. And the breadcrumbs have their own block and they just consider at the bottom. So and this works because of the way we're using the we're inheriting the structure that the Django admin app uses, and that uses those breadcrumbs, so we can just use the same block names. All right, now we're going to use auth, which is the style that all these social accounts use. We're going to create a social application. Now we need to do this. I'm not sure why it has to be created. I guess it does have to be created because there's no other step actually puts the application into the database, but it's surprisingly difficult. So I looked at a few different ways of doing this. We could have done it programmatically, but you've got to write a lot of code for it. But what we can do is we can extend the manage.py script that Django provide us and give it another command. And so I thought, well, that'll be useful to for people to see how to create another command. And the way we do that is it's all about convention where we store stuff. So in our app, we're going to create a folder for management and then commands, and then in that we're going to have a module called create social apps.py. So in here we want to create a management folder. Now if you're brand new to Django, you're probably not even understanding what is going on here, but if you try it a couple of times, you might start to see just what we've done. And we have to do all this, and we only have to run it once on our dev server. If we had deployed it, we'd have to run it on the deploy server as well. So by doing it this way, it'll be ready for deployment as well. Now these folders, they have to be Python packages, which mean they've got to have an init.py file in them, and we'll do that later. But for now, we're going to create a Python file called create social apps. And in that, we're basically creating one of these class commands, which is extending the Django base command. We give it help, and we just say what it does. And all it is actually doing is creating a social app inside the database, which will be called Strava, and it'll be using our secret that we developed back in the other back in meetup 220, and so it's going to use that secret key and store it in the database, and by storing it there, then it can be used when it's connecting to Strava. So I won't go into the details of every line that's in there, just to say that it's a way of creating our own management commands, like the ones we had before, like create super user and migrate. They're all just management commands. Okay, there's the command created. We have to create these two init.py files, so to tell Python these are packages. So it's underscore underscore init underscore underscore, and you can see as soon as we create it, we get the little circle in the folder there, so that Python knows it's a package. Like if I look at this one, it's just a folder, but if I create a Python file there called underscore underscore init underscore underscore .py, it becomes a package as well. And now we can run the command, and it's just python manage.py create social apps. So that command didn't exist before. It's not actually going to work yet because we haven't put our secret file in. Oh, here we go. Put the file Strava key that you created in meetup 220, and we'll just put it into the project directory. So in this one here. So I've got it. So in meetup 220, it stored it in a folder called API keys in our Google Drive. So I've got it here. So I'm just going to drag it into this folder here. Move, it's going to move it. I want to copy it. Let's see, alt, move, let's move it. Let's try control, copy, that's what I want to do. Copy it to there, yes. Okay, that's worked. I did a control drag for that to work, and it'll be, if you're on a different platform, that might be different. And now I can do create social apps. Python manage.py py create social apps, and it's created a social app called Strava. Now there's quite a lot that we've got to do here before we can even test it, which is a shame, because it's nice to be able to test things as you go along to make sure everything's working properly. But now we have to configure the links from the app to allauth social accounts. So if we look in Strava site in our URLs, I'll just hide that. You can see we've got links to admin, we've got links to BPML Strava, our app. We've got just a root index file that's going to call this template, and now we also want one. If anything has a URL with the pattern accounts in it, it's going to use the allauth.urls. There we go. And now we can add a bit more functionality into our base template to tell us whether the user is logged in or not, and is going to go into the block aside, which is a block predefined by the Django admin app. So let's put that into our base template, and then it'll be used by all the others. So you can see at the moment I've got this block aside which does nothing. So let's put in this new aside, which tells us whether the user is authenticated or not. And the other thing we have to do is it has to be able to use all the social account extensions. So after extends, we put in this thing into the template, and it'll go to the social account library and pull out some extra things so that it can give us this information. Things like the provider login URL for Strava. So it'll know when we click on sign in, it'll know how to do that. And that's going to save us a lot of time. Otherwise we have to go to Strava and say what we have to provide. We have to set up a URL that will work. It will go to Strava and then have a callback, so it'll come back to the right place, and this will handle it all for us. Okay, and then in URLs here for our app, not for our project, we've got our URL for an individual athlete. No, we're going to view activities for a individual athlete. Okay, so that's going to be a bit more detail. The previous one just showed this, I think probably the saved activities. This one's going to show a bit more. So we need to add that into views. So sorry about all this stuff having to go in, but I try to, you can go through these steps in more detail yourself, but I also wanted to give the video so you can actually see it happening if there's something that's not described quite right in the text. View activities, views.py. So I'll add these two functions to the bottom. And we'll clean up the imports. So prefetch is used to prefetch relationships in the database, so that just means it's faster access through the database. So we're going to say when we select the social accounts out of the database, also give us the users, and for the users give us their set of activities that are saved in the database for that user. So that's that one, social account with sorted activities. So this method here, it's not a view, this is just one that will call from different places. So if we give it the Strava ID, it'll return the social account, and it will do all this complicated fetching for us. And rather than having to copy and paste that every place that we want to use it, we'll just stick it into a function, and then we can just call the function when we want to use it. So then our view activities method, all it does is calls that function and creates the context and sends it off to our template. And there it is. Login required is an authentication decorator provided by Django, so that if anyone tries to use that link and they're not logged in, it'll send them to the login details rather than let them run the URL. So that's easily implemented. All we do is use the decorator, which is the @ symbol, and then login required in front of the function that we want it to be login secured. And the models. And we probably, well, I'll leave it there. And social account, we need social account. No, we've already got social account. We need activity so that we can set this query set here because we want all the activities to be ordered by their start time. All right, that's a lot of changes. I'm going to just restart to make sure it's got all of them. View activities is not defined. Okay, it's looking to me like it is. So let's just stop and start it again. Okay, we'll go and fix that. So in Strava URLs, maybe we didn't import it. There we go, view activities has not been imported. So I'll just import it up here. Okay, that's looking good. Let's go see what our app looks like after those changes. I'll refresh just so we know. So this is our home page. It's got a link to our Strava app and the admin app. And we've now got a sign out and an update member details button, and we're currently logged in as super user Django. So let's sign out. This is a sign out page provided by allauth. Now we've created styling for our pages, but this one's in a different library, so we haven't provided anything for that. And so in a future session I'll show you how to get the styling working on that. We're back here to our index page. Is showing the list of athletes. We haven't logged in, we're not logged in, and we've got options to now sign in with Django or sign in with Strava. Let's try signing in with Strava. Once again, it's not styled nicely, but it still is functional. We continue, and that'll jump off to strava.com/login. And now even at strava.com, they're doing what we're doing. So we're saying we'll use Strava to log in, and Strava is saying, well, you can use Google to log into Strava, or you can use this method down here. Now I'm going to try the Google method, and it's going to then jump off to Google authentication. Then it's going to come back to Strava, and then Strava is going to come back to us, and we can see that we've logged in, and it's picked up from my Strava account. It's picked up my name. It's created a record here now in Strava Athletes, and I've got a link here. I can view activities, and so let's click on the link, and it says I've got no saved activities, which is right because we haven't saved any. And so that's what our next session is going to be how to grab activities from Strava using tokens, and then we're able to save them into the database. Let's go back to our script. And that's the end of the script. So we got there. All right. Now there's quite a lot of stuff there. That took about 2 or 3 sessions in when we did Meetup 206 to get from setting up the application to using Google Auth. This time I tried to do all of that, this time with Strava Auth, all in the one session. So I had to go quite quickly. But it is now a reference for you because there's not much material on how to do this. So I hope there's not much material on how to use Strava Auth. There's quite a lot on how to use Google Auth. So I hope it's going to be useful to you to see this thing. In next month, at the beginning of the month, we have an absolute beginners session, which will be and I'm going to do a machine learning session on that. Arun's mentioned that he might do a session in the next few weeks as well, so that'll be great. And then on the 19th of November, we'll continue on this project, and the trick will be to get our activity data using tokens into our database. And there'll be a couple more sessions up in the months to come after that for different things until we build this app into quite a useful app. I'm going to use it for trying to run a competition amongst my friends who will all be using Strava, and we'll be doing park runs. So yeah, other things it'll do will be to able to do some web scraping on a park run results page to look at park run results, and it will also do some mapping and drawing of the tracks that people have run using Strava so that we can see them on the map, and that's what the logo was that we saw. And we need to fix up some of that styling on the login, log out, but that can be for a later time. So I hope you enjoyed it. I don't expect anyone to have made it to the end of that one in the live session, but it's now there as a reference so that you can have a go at it. And if you want to ask any questions, you can put comments on the YouTube video, or you can put comments here in Learning to Code. Just refer to which meetup you're talking about, and someone will get back to you probably to help you out. You don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be during a session. It can be any time in between sessions. Okay, thanks very much.